Welcome back to another episode of 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life. Today's episode, branching out. And my special guest is Joel Patrick. Welcome to the show, Mr. Patrick.
Thanks for having me on.
And if anybody knows about branching out, it'll be you because you literally branch out. In fact, you helped me out this week on the job because you're a climber, you're in the same industry that I'm in. You do more of the physical climbing that I used to do. I physically climb into a bucket, whether it's on the truck or aerial lift, but you still climbing, you enjoy the exercise and the benefits from climbing. Tell us about branching out and your love of trees and what got you into climbing.
Well, I actually started out on the ground
Okay.
and I was 15 years old and I asked my dad if I could have a chainsaw. And he said, "No, you're 15." So I went out and got a little handsaw and I started with a handsaw and I would cut up some of the neighbors' smaller trees, do a little trimming here and there. And then I got my first chainsaw when I was about 17 and I pulled it around a little red radio flyer wagon. And then from there, I started just climbing without gear, just climbing up in the trees and again using the handsaw. And then eventually it got into where I was climbing and using a powered saw. And I started climbing a little more. And I've been climbing probably since 2018.
2018. So you get a full 7 years. That's a year of completion. That's God's number. And the other day we worked on a project together. We had a tree in a tight spot, couldn't get any equipment to, and we were collaborating. He said, "Man, I would love to climb for you. Give me a shot. I'll show you what we can do." And it was very, very impressive. In fact, the security guard, um, before we started the day, mentioned, "Man, this is going to be a hard job for you guys, man. This is a tight spot." And I believe my response was, absolutely not. I wouldn't allow that energy into the space, and the job went off without a hitch. It was smooth smelling. He's like a little squirrel jumping from limb to limb. It's amazing.
Squirrel? Is that what you were thinking?
Literally, it's amazing seeing somebody good at their craft and what they do. And so that's why I titled Branching Out, because branching out is in the trees with what we do, but we also branch out in life. And we get an opportunity to collaborate with other people in life. We get a chance to collaborate through branching out in different avenues of life. What is your experience? How have you tied in what you do from limb to limb, each tree, day by day, into life and God's purpose for you in life?
Yeah, one of the things I notice about you is your attention to detail. You're never shady and you don't leave a mess. And when we were working together, like there was no voice raising, there was no name calling, there was no profanity, and working in an environment that's that peaceful and full of joy was just such a blessing. And I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity because it's been a while since I climbed for someone else, because I climb for my own company right now, but it was a great opportunity and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
And I appreciate that compliment. We strive not to be perfect, but to be perfect, if that makes sense. Perfection, we're going to make mistakes, so I accept that. But it's unacceptable to go into any place or any atmosphere, whether I'm just going to the grocery store to pick up some milk, with a negative perspective or a negative outlook. Am I going to be perfect? Absolutely not. The Bible says we sin and we fall short every day, but we strive to do better.
I know you've been in business for a few years, and I know there have been a lot of things that you've learned over the years. What's one thing that you would say is important about sitting in your comfort zone or getting too comfortable?
Comfort zones are killers. And the reason being because when you get in a comfort zone, it eliminates your growth. It keeps you from being a creator. It keeps you from growing. Like once you're in a comfort zone, you get lazy. It's like, oh, I'm comfortable. I'm not okay personally of being comfortable. And because when you get comfortable, you get complacent. You get comfortable, you stop educating yourself. You get comfortable.
My
God,
grandfather said that if a man is too old to learn, then he's too old to live. Because the moment that you stop learning, you ceased to grow in your craft and become better. And then, even bringing it back to the Bible, he said, because you are lukewarm, comfortable,
I'll spew
I
you
will
out of my-
spit you out of my mouth. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Neither
that
hot nor cold. Yeah.
And in fact, when I was incarcerated in my younger years, it was an older dude, which really puzzled me because he had to be in his 80s or 90s, and the fact that he was locked up. And he said, Jet, never stop learning. He said, no. He said, you got a chance. I ain't got no more chances. And he showed me the letters.
So I'm going to shock you.
Uh-huh.
I was also incarcerated in my younger years.
Mm-hmm. And so, and so what I got from that, he said, continue learning. He said, you're never too old to learn. And the fact that he said that to me, you know, an 18-year-old kid being in trouble for the first time in his life, when he said that to me, was profound. And I still remember it all these years later. You know, because you get incarcerated, you start out with a 0, and then you have a set of numbers. If you come back the second time, it start with the alphabet, A. You come back the third time, you got a B. This man had like a S. I was terrified, because I made up in my mind that day.
Now, was this county jail or was this
is state prison.
state prison?
I was like, dude, I was
Yeah,
like,
I didn't make it quite that far.
listen, you glad you didn't? Listen, I was like when I seen that was like, if my mind wasn't already made up, it was made up at that moment. It's like, nah, we ain't getting no letters. That's it. Like this it. Like if people are comfortable, watch this, they're comfortable being incarcerated where they can get the other letters from the alphabet on their name. I mean, you got people in there with C's, D's, E's. That's too much. We didn't get past 0. I was one and done because I learned. Like,
and they say that the best people learn from other people's mistakes, and some people learn from their own mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's better to learn
than not learn at all.
than not learn at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love that saying. It's one of mine. I said, what is it? It's the wise man learns from another man's mistakes. Smart man learns from his own. And the foolish man never learns at all.
Never learns at all.
He continues to make those same mistakes. It's almost insanity. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah. And there's that comfort zone. They just uncomfortable doing this, so it must be right. We complain, they complain about being in the same place, the same stage in life, and there's no growth pattern.
And I think there's also something to be said about people who, the must be nicers, you know how that goes. Oh, you got a new grapple trip, must be nice.
Yeah.
The must be nicers will always say must be nice, but they're never going to be the ones that are at work after hours, that are there learning, that are striving. If they start out as a ground guy, they're not content just to rake.
Yeah.
They want to learn to be a sawman. Once they're a sawman, they want to learn to be a climber. They want to learn to be a foreman. They want to learn to be an owner. That complacency of the must be nice attitude is what keeps them from always saying must be nice and never having it. And one of the first things that I really learned from the first person that I worked with, his name was Luis, and he did tree work. We were up in Ohio. He said safety is number one. Yes. He said that no matter what you do, at the end of the day, make sure that somebody's safe. He said, hey, if you break a fence, if you tear up somebody's yard, all that can be replaced, but people can't be replaced.
Absolutely.
And so I love how you put a big emphasis on safety at your company as well. And every one of your guys had a hard hat. Every single one of them knew where they were supposed to be and where they weren't supposed to be, and that was very important. And also, you used the right tools. When you handed me a saw, it was sharp. It was ready to go. You brought out the bull rope, it was thick. It was going to hold that weight. We used the right equipment for the job. And I liked the recommendations you gave me. You said you can rig better with these adjustable friction savers. I went out and ordered 2 of them the very next day. I was like, I need to have this. And I learned some important stuff. Yeah, even as long as I've been climbing, learning new things every day, learning different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And and the crazy thing, a lot of people don't understand like how much work it is to hand carry out, what was that? Probably a 12,000 pound tree to hand carry it out. Y'all hand carried that out. And it was, by the time I climbed down out of the tree, there was only a few pieces left.
Yep.
I mean, it was a big job, and y'all knocked it out quick.
Yeah.
Didn't damage the deck or anything.
It's all about the right equipment for the job. It's about efficiency, and it's about being professional. Like we put the mats down. You want to protect the floor. I was on Facebook the other day. I'm in this True group, and somebody posed a question. And why do we have to be certified arborists? And then everybody in the chat, and I normally don't chime in, I just look. He goes, Walter, I've been doing this for 20 years. Why I need to be there's no point in being a certified arborist. And so I felt compelled to say something. I said, well, the safety tips that you can learn from it, hope you be a better proficiency with it to add with what you already know.
But you can't, experience doesn't give you an ability to diagnose
Yep.
tree disease. I didn't know that before I started studying for the arborist test, I didn't know that Virginius quercus was the live oak, the
Yep.
proper name for the live oak. There's a lot of stuff that you learn. You were already teaching me about dominant and codominant leads
Yep.
and the meristem tunnels and the differences of different diseases you might see in the trees, and whether or not a tree is low energy and is going to need to be removed, or whether or not a tree is going to survive. That's very important stuff, and that's not stuff you would just learn from experience. You'd have to study the arborist material to learn that.
And I think the last comment I left in that thing when I replied to him, I said, listen, only people that's complaining that's not certified and they don't want to take the time to, like, why complain?
That's a very nice way of saying why you hate from outside the club.
Like,
you can't even get in.
Yeah, I'm like, well, who knocks? Like, if you watch this, when I worked at McDonald's, they trained me how to make a burger. When I worked as a night auditor at the hotel, they trained me how to balance their books. Guess what? If I want to do hands and feet as a nail tech, I have to get a license or train. There's every industry,
Barber,
whatever,
gotta have a license.
whatever skill that you want in
Plumber,
life,
electrician,
you have to get some
you
type
gotta
of
get
certification.
certified.
And in some states, they offer certification. Florida's one of those states that don't. And I really honestly look to change that, because being a certified arborist is like,
We could lobby.
yeah,
We could lobby to make make the state provide it, because it's not like it would be something so hateful. Like they could provide the course at like a local library,
Yeah.
2-3 times a year, and have an already certified arborist come in and teach it. That would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. And then you mentioned something about when we were on the job site, we were talking about the trades and like how there's not enough people entering into the trades and not enough skilled people entering in the trades. Well, the state has all that money for education. When it comes to some of these useless degrees, they'd be giving out scholarships and all that. I think they need to put some of that money towards trades education.
I mentioned this in my book. You need a license to clip nails and toes.
But you don't need a license to do the second, or is it the second most dangerous or first most dangerous?
It's one of the top 5 dangerous jobs
In
in
America.
the world.
Oh, in the world.
Yeah, like somebody get killed or injured every 2 to 3 days in this industry. This is why I prioritize safety, because guess what? If you don't study that material and you're not into it and you're just always scrolling Facebook, you're not going to know about these things. You're going to complain like, oh man, that guy didn't have to die. He died and got electrocuted because he wasn't educated in this field. And yeah, you might have got away with it, and you got away with it until you didn't. You only got to be wrong once. And see, when you know something, now you're looking for it because you're trained in it.
Or when people talk to me, they're like, okay, why don't you use wedges when felling? Oh, because if you put a rope on it and you put some good tension on that rope, it's more sure that it's falling that direction than wedges.
Yeah.
And you're depending a lot more on your cuts and the rope than you are on placing those wedges right. And then a lot of trees aren't balanced. It's not like we're felling pine trees every day that are straight up and they're balanced perfectly. No, we're felling trees that are balanced or really off balance, and I always put a rope in it if I'm felling, even something small, because we want to make sure it goes the direction that we need it to.
What's funny, I have probably throughout a few of my trucks, we probably have more than like 20 wedges. I remember when I used to wedge with metal wedges because I didn't know any better. But we now use plastic wedges, but we rarely use them, because the more you become good at what you do, you don't need them, because your hinge is where it needs to be. You got ropes on there. I call ropes insurance. I said, why do we need a rope? You got insurance on your car? Don't ask the question. You probably don't. And some people, don't. And so, and I say this and I teach this to my guys. They say, we really need a rope. You got insurance on your car? I said, put it when in doubt, rope it out. And that's the reality. What is it going to hurt by having a rope on it?
And also don't rush,
Yeah.
because most of the accidents that I've ever seen were at the end of the day, people were rushing to get something done and they cut a corner.
Yeah.
And you can't cut corners. Not when people's lives are on the line, and there's significant risk of property damage. A very interesting lesson. You remember the tree that we got the crane on?
Yes,
You said, don't even mess with it in the wires like that. Call the power company. And
absolutely.
I said, well, it's going to push the job back a week. He said, doesn't matter. Call the power company, get that 15-foot clearance, and then take the tree down. We did.
Yeah.
And that safety, you can't put a price on it.
Somebody just, uh, this is not a doom and gloom show. So somebody just lost their life, getting electrocuted just this past week. It's
In Florida?
um, it's in Houston,
In Houston.
and the guy wasn't even in the tree service. He was helping a neighbor out with his pole saw, and he got up near power lines to trim limbs back. And it's always sad when you see that, when that
So he was
happens,
helping
because
somebody else out too.
it's like it's
But
don't
also, you have to think about it. Like, you wouldn't go and remove your own kidney just
no
because you'd save some money.
yeah
Sometimes it's best to hire a professional, especially when there's that much risk involved.
yes
The money that you spend, is it worth your life? And
yeah
that's why when people say, oh, he's not as fast as him, or this guy over here, he can cut it down faster. But is it safer? Because if your job doesn't require a trip to the hospital, I'd say that's faster.
yeah. So in branching out, like there's so many stories. We probably will be here all day because we get to see these different things that happens in our field. I won't change. I want to make sure that I get better and better at what I do. I say this in meetings with more guys. I said, my hope today is that all of us, by this time next year, are in a better position and we know more than where we are right now. I said, if you,
And I also think sometimes you sell yourself short a lot too. And like you're very humble for what you've accomplished because you've built an incredible business here. You're grossing millions of dollars a year. And that's something to be said in this business where some people, they're not even able to keep their employees employed year round. Some people, they have to take off for the winter or they have to take off for the summer because they don't have enough work to keep their guys busy. And you've found a niche and you've crushed it in that niche. And you've done incredible things, from the way that you manage money to the way that you treat people to the way that you give away and give back. And you should be proud of what you've accomplished. You
well,
should be proud of where you've gotten to. It's incredible to see someone starting where you started and ending up where you've ended.
yeah.
And that's very inspiring.
Well, to God be the glory. Because my foundation is built in Him, and through it's just a byproduct. All the other stuff is a byproduct. I try to fulfill my purpose while I'm here on earth, and to honor Him. And He said in His word that He will add all things unto us, and that's just a byproduct. Like this success is a byproduct of trusting God, because when you trust Him, all things are possible, and when all things are possible, that means there's nothing that's impossible. God said, "Is there anything too hard for me?" See, when I want it and I chased it, it eluded me. But when I humbled myself and been obedient to what He has called me to do, it became, and it is very easy to do what's being done every day. And then I feel like I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even broke ground yet. We're just really beginning to see the true capabilities of this creation that is God is allowing us to do.
And I think it's really incredible how you delight in the things of the Lord. The Bible does say, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's not to say, because I'm not a proponent of the prosperity gospel at all.
No.
When you're delighted by the things of the Lord, then your desires become His desires.
Amen.
And in the parable of the talents, it said to some He gave 5, to some He gave 10, and they brought back 100-fold. He talked about how with the talents that God has given you, you need to be a good steward of those talents. Mm-hmm. And God has gifted you in a way that you can be a powerful leader, an incredible father, and a teacher. And you're using those talents for His glory. And God's going to bless it.
That's the reason why I don't get comfortable. I'm grateful. I'm grateful, number one, for my family. I'm grateful for the things that God has done in my life and the things that He's going to continue to do in my life. And just being able to be a father, man, that's one of the greatest jobs I have on earth. And congratulations to you, because you're about to be a father in a few more months. And that's incredible, because you don't know until you know, until you After 5 kids, I think I'm qualified to know. Like, this is like, it's like the best gift. And so it used to bother me that, my dad wasn't there when I grew up. He wasn't there. But, man, he don't know what he robbed himself of. Because, like, the greatest gift on earth, man, they say the greatest show on earth, the greatest gift on earth is being a father, man. Like, I don't know about moms. Moms are great, but being a father, I'm speaking from a man's point of view, guys, so don't judge me. Moms are important. I'm not saying that they're not. But for a man, one of the greatest gifts and the privileges I have is being a father, man. To give my kids something that wasn't a privy to. Because,
And that's our purpose in life.
yeah,
Our purpose, the first commandment, even before sin, was be fruitful and multiply and
yes.
fill the earth and subdue it. And I think fathers have a very specific role as the spiritual leader of the home, and as the leader of the home. And it's, the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I have no greater joy than to see that my children are walking in truth. And it goes back to fatherhood.
Yes.
And everything starts at home. One of the biggest unfortunate situations regarding the African American community is the lack of fathers
Yes.
among black households. And people say, oh, well, you're just talking. No, this is a fact that we need to reconcile with. And why is it? Why is it that fathers are not in the home? It's because we've allowed ourselves to have fathers replaced by the government. And it's a shame because our community is suffering for it.
Yes.
The state can't raise your kids.
Yeah. So what happens, I think people, they get into that comfort zone, and instead of branching outside of that comfort zone, they say, oh, I got a free check. It's like grass.
It's free, but what did it cost?
So watch this. It's like grass. When you put new sod in, for people that don't understand what grass is, we call it sod. And once you plant that sod, you water it for 14 days straight, especially in the summertime, 3 times a week, if it's in the wintertime. But the reason why you stop watering that grass after that 14 to 3 days, depends on what time of the year is, because the roots get lazy. And if you continue to water those roots, they get lazy and say, whoa, stop, don't dig. They're going to turn the sprinklers on. We get free water. We don't have to work for it. And so that's what happens once you get something free, you don't work for it anymore.
It won't be grounded.
It can't get rooted or grounded. And so when you branch outside of the box, there's growth. Tonight, before you close your eyes, here's what my challenge to you. I want you to do it tonight, tomorrow, before your feet hit the floor. Say this out loud. Something wonderful is going to happen to me today. Do it for a week, then 2, then 3, until it's a habit. So when you watch your life transform, the change that you see will be undeniable. And what you do from there, my friend, is on you. So thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate your guidance. And I appreciate your ability to do what you do in the tree industry, your contribution.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all of the viewers. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And remember,
be careful, be safe, stay electrified. Have a great week.